What do we got on the team? I'm Trash Kid. Lost on Maev. Diva main. A Medivh. Weird. I know we've seen Christie around. They're playing some tank. Alarak. Okay.
For the Nexus.
Or if you early pick that name. Which name? There are many names. The I'm Trash Kid.
The crusade calls.
I don't necessarily want to early pick, but I don't think anything else wants to early pick here either, so I'll go ahead and grab. My biggest danger is probably a Nubarak Cocoon, because I can wiggle verse Stitches.
Oh, this is my jam!
You're the best Tyrande NA. I mean, I guess they do win a lot of Tyrande. Encouraging the team to greater heights. Alright, so Stitches, so we're doing the Stitches counter thing. That's not a huge deal, because we can try to kite him. But in that way, I will be going for speed. Here we go. Shade of Mephisto grants 20% movement speed while active, and for 2.5 seconds after it ends. If Mephisto hits an enemy at least 18 times with basic abilities while Shade of Mephisto is active, then reset the cooldown of Shade of Mephisto. Okay, so that's like a lightning build sort of thing. We'll see what the clump is on the other picks there. And we'll play this passion pick. Because right now there's not a lot to hit with Mephisto. And there's not going to be a lot of CC to hold things still. But we do have rather high damage with Tyrande, Greymane, and myself. Give Illy last pick. Got it. Thought he was trying to say give it up. Give it up. Give up your dreams. Okay. Hey, Gaming with Ease. Welcome to you. Happy Tuesday. And Theresius.
Let's fly.
You're welcome now, carry us. I get, right? You know, there's Falstad. There's possibly an Artanis Blind. But I think it's okay. Have they added anyone new to this game since Hogger? No, Hogger was the last edition. There's been a lot of balance. There's been a lot of patches over the last year. They are teasing out content in the near future. Our season is supposed to end next week. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. As for waiting a year and what hero can you put out that makes the most people happy, that is a pretty big question. Personally, I'd like to say Manaroth or some sort of Pit Lord, but, you know, everyone has opinions. And the longer you go, the more those heroes need to match the most people.
Keep your wits about you. Our enemy is near.
Think they'll ever actually do more characters, or is the pipeline closed? I have no idea, frankly. I have no idea. The Heroes team is part of the Classics team, but it's also a very dedicated and passionate team. We have very passionate developers who keep wanting to work on this game. I think everything is in an extremely weird space at Blizzard. Extremely weird. They need to spend a lot of money on all their games. clean up their parks. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go for the W build here since we're got some pretty good damage there in the start. All right, not too bad. It is an extremely solid MOBA. There were a lot of odd decisions made along that road, such as, you know, not giving custom map support. I don't think in terms of production they did anything wrong. They worked with the engine and the system they were given. I think the engine is hard to use at times, just by what we hear and how complicated it can be to create new things and be spontaneous. And I think a live service game needs that spontaneity, like Fortnite kind of discovered. Oh dear. Oh, this is gonna be dangerous, but oh. And that's probably the right way to do it. You know, expect nothing. The weird part is, of course, just how passionate the people are about this game. What did Fortnite discover? How to make content in a fluid sort of way, and how to have a system that, or an engine that allows them to make things frequently and update the game in a very fluid way. Coming back. There we go. Oh, I want to grab those. And I don't exactly know the inner workings and the stories there. It just seemed like with StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm, the developers were often fighting the machine itself. And that very much is what happened to Mass Effect, as well as Anthem, you know. For money reasons, for whatever reason, engines are used or paid for. And budget cuts are made. I'm just farming safe right now. Illidan's working on that camp down there. We can push out top a little bit. We're getting a lot of raw damage in, but it's not for much if Greymane's not around to kind of execute upon it. Getting some really cool teleports, but those will come to a close here as Stitches hits Gorge. I might be able to complete that kill, actually. Nice. But I've been thinking about this a lot recently. I watched a documentary on Disney Plus called The History of Imagineering, or Imagineering in the Making, and you know, they had some sort of name like that, but it's about Imagineering. They're engineers who make the rides and stuff. And it's basically a long series, the history. It's very rosy as you get to the more modern times. It's absolutely biased because it's made by Disney talking about Disney. But they're a little harder on their past. They're definitely a lot harder on the past and when times were tough and money was tough. But staying invested in the parks, keeping the parks clean. This idea of plussing, that people need to go by the parks and there always needs to be something new and something different. And it really speaks to live service games. You're basically running a park. You're running a themed world. And Blizzard was a box product company. They were shipping expansions and stuff. And Activision was there to help them with that. Yeah, the fan sucks. It's not fan, by the way. But when they tried to move into, you know, more live service games, they really didn't have a roadmap for it. A 1,000 chips delicious. We still have a small window where there's no gorge. I want to engage. Oh, nice save. Nice save. Oh dear. I think we're all dead. Our time to kill was not high enough. Or fast enough. Though we probably did a lot of raw damage. Do you think that's applicable to HOTS and Blizzard and trying to get into the MOBA late game, the arrogance? I think that arrogance is very clear in World of Warcraft compared to people like Yoshi P. Yoshi P, of course, and his apologetic nature is making the World of Warcraft team seem even worse than previously thought. Ian, for example, you know, I don't know the guy personally, but he comes from raiding. And in raiding and in video games in that way, you make sure it's not your fault. You make sure that you are not the one blamed. And I'm not surprised by his attitude of not accepting blame. But for Blizzard, did they think the Blizzard name was just going to carry it? I think so. People like to point at I can't believe they called this a casual game. That's what killed it. I don't think that's really the case, but I do think that they called it a casual game expecting that marketing to work because they thought the Blizzard name could just carry the rest. Aw. But there was also a lot of infighting, like, and we know that. Like, there was a lot of conversations had by the developers of Heroes of the Storm as to what sort of game they made, and a lot of them believe that, you know, sharing the levels and that sort of decision making was wrong. That MOBAs are about a power fantasy and about becoming 3 levels higher than anybody else on your team and the enemy team, and how that just playing one more game where hopefully I'm powerful enough to kill everybody is enough. So maybe they reached kind of a deadlock. Maybe they couldn't agree on what the game should be, and it made it take longer. But I think the StarCraft team had some really good heads on its shoulders, and I don't think that they were over arrogant. It's a maybe. There was a lot of arrogance when it came to things like StarCraft balancing. They repeatedly sort of voiced that we couldn't possibly understand their machinations and what they were trying to do. I need to stop hitting Durances while I'm out of range to interact. Illidan's down bottom. Those gusts have been good and defensive, but Illidan's cleaning up. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. He is complete though. That building's still mad at me. Yeah, and like I said, I do not know the guy. I have no. Oop. Oh jeez, I got interrupted. I should have just walked. And I have not covered World of Warcraft in any sort of serious or professional capacity. I'm not a World of Warcraft journalist. But I do think there is a very relatable sense of not wanting to accept blame, and likely it's not his fault. And it would be a disservice to ask him to take ownership of mistakes that aren't his.
The burning hells descend.
Right, and that's something that like you talking about, you know, not being Metzen or Yoshi P. Absolutely. And I think that's something that Disney documentary brought up really well, is that it takes a leader, you know, it takes a visionary and someone who's going to inspire others. And I think there are, you know, it takes a great king to make a kingdom, you know, or a great leader of any kind. I hit Falstad, but now I'm kind of alone back here with this. As long as Tyranda's with me. I don't want to stand and fight, but... it happens a lot in history. You have the leader, and you have their next of kin, whoever that might be. And that next of kin had a very personal relationship with the previous leader. And so they are very much inspired by them. They are very much in tune with what made that kingdom great. But the generations pass and that initial message gets lost. And I think that's kind of where we're at now. There has to be a visionary to step up. And, you know, in that way, I fear for down the road when Yoshi P steps down. He'll probably have someone, a direct descendant of his philosophy. And things will go great for a time, but that person will then step down, and before you know it, you might be in a similar situation directed by shareholders and that sort of thing. And honestly, we're playing great. Like, we are playing fantastic. For talking this much. Oh, jeez. Darn, that was a good swap. I think they're the same thing, though. I think that being super charismatic will translate to being a visionary in a lot of ways, but you want both. You want somebody who can cheer people, because otherwise it's hollow. Otherwise you've got your store clerk, your you know, manager at your day job. To me, I had experience like this in retail, where you had someone who was really like, go, sales, but they didn't have any skill. They didn't have charisma in that way. So they were just kind of repeating the lines and go, go in your ear. You know, you're wearing an earpiece out there on the sales floor. And it was very hollow. So my experience is colored by my own experience there. Charismatic people got people into this mess. I mean, yeah, we'll see what the long story holds. I'm not holding anybody hero. And I'm expecting the worst in a lot of ways, but, you know, we're having a little bit of chain death thing. When we win fights and we get stuff done, though. So I'm not I don't think we're out right now, but late game's coming. It's time to focus up a bit. For me. We can absolutely keep talking a little bit, but I might take a bit longer to answer. But I do think that you need very strong principles to lead.
Our victory.
And I want to see those principles. I want to see people who show up and immediately say what they want. Like, AZ Jackson really impressed me when we interviewed him. He came on the show on Into the Nexus, and it was immediately, here's my 3 reasons, here's why I balance the way I do, here's this, here's that. I try to include these little treats, these surprises, a gift in each one that keeps people entertained. Like, he had a very clear mission for himself as to how he balanced heroes, and I think that's extremely powerful. And coming up with those sort of mission statements is not easy, and not everyone's into that sort of stuff, you know? You have to be a nerd about motivation, you have to be a nerd about planning, you got to be a dungeon master for a lot of people. And these games are made by people. Okay, she's out.
As it must be.
And that community thing is so sad. Oh my goodness, the whole WoW community league thing they're putting together. It's not gonna hit. Nope. Oh, okay. Oh, nice move. Oh, Tyrande needs to live. Darn. Oh, we've got a Johanna. We've got a Greymane. That blind is really good. Greymane does have his attack speed talent, though. Johanna's doing resets on her dive, actually. Okay. All right, we get to keep playing. But I'm also in a very honest mood about, you know, my feelings on Blizzard because I've been thinking about it a lot recently, you know? I think Heroes of the Storm in particular for me, you know, and my interests, is an absolutely salvageable product, and I think it's a beautiful, awesome game, and I want to see it succeed because I love it. This is absolutely an act of passion these days. And I think about Here's the Storm a lot. I love talking about it. I love hanging out over it. I love doing the interviews for it. I think it's just I think it's a really fun and very dynamic game. But I do think it's going to cost a lot of money to spruce up this park, to repaint the fences.
I move to you at once.
Shoot, there's a false stat in the back. This is such a good choke too. If I can hit this just a little bit. Orphea, Orphea, Orphea. There is... What's that? A 2-stack? Okay, we can just go win. That was a fun game to play in the background while we had a big discussion. Thank you all for joining me for it. How did I do on damage? Oh, I actually got damaged by Greyman. That makes sense. He was wailing by the end. I'm glad they took a fight in such a tight choke, though. That worked really well. Fun stuff, that Mephisto guy. I probably give Ian more credit than others because I can see the passion when he gets going. Yeah, and I don't think that's fair to him, right? I don't think it's fair to make him go on stage. I think he's a really skilled raid designer. I don't think he likely designs a lot of the systems that go around it. I think that when Ian led the way, raids became the best they've ever been. I think the raiding in BFA was fabulous. I didn't raid in Legion. But raiding was really, really solid. And endgame for World of Warcraft is where it shines the most. Absolutely. And those developer talks and putting him on the spot like that, that's not fair to him.